What's the word, y'all? I don't know many things, but I can say for certain that Ben Simmons is somewhere sleeping with a smile on his face. He is sleeping like a baby because his homies, his new homies, the Brooklyn Nets, went into Philly and went crazy and got a win. You know what I'm saying? A win is good, but in this fashion, oh yeah, he is somewhere smiling. He might be partying, but there's no way he went out in Philly after everything that went down. You know what I'm saying? There's no way. And listen, this was one of the most anticipated regular season games for me and a lot of people out there. This is a game that was circled on the schedule the moment that the trade went through. Everybody was looking towards this one because this is Ben Simmons' first chance to be in Philly. And then people start talking. Danny Green's like, nah, I don't think he's going to play. I mean, obviously, he didn't. But Danny Green started talking. And Danny Green didn't even play. Talk about his finger. Either way, this day was circled on the calendar for many NBA fans, and there's no way you could tell me the people within these organizations, the front office, the players didn't have this game circled as well. Actually, Danny Green said it in Ryan Russillo's podcast. This day was circled. So any of the players after this game that said, oh, it's just a regular season game, yeah, facts. But not facts at the same time, man. Because listen, in the grand scheme of things, will we remember March 10th? Probably not, right? I mean, it might impact seeding a little bit because in the Eastern Conference, a half a game means a lot. But nah, this is not a game that's going to steer the direction of an organization or that's going to matter once we get to the playoffs. But this is a game that everybody was thinking about. So it was embarrassing for the 76ers to go out there and do what they did. It was embarrassing for their two stars to do what they did in that fashion. And I said before the day even started to the homies that, like, whoever between Joel and Jokic, because both of them on national TV and those are the only games today, whoever has the better game is going to be propelled into number one MVP, at least until in a couple days when they go against each other on ESPN. Whoever was going to do it was going to be number one, and both of them had terrible games, in my opinion. For their standards, for MVP standards, both of them had terrible games. But this man, Ben Simmons, let's just get back to Ben Simmons, because I know it is a person that we've talked about a lot. And you know, I actually made it my mission during the downtime when there was just rumors going around about Ben Simmons and the 76ers. I made it a point to try not to talk about him until some deal was done, and now a deal has been done, and he still have it the floor. But Danny Green went into Ryan Russillo's podcast, and a lot of different things came out about Ben Simmons and the 76ers, and I just want to read y'all some of them. Shout out to Deadweight Boss for listening to the entirety of Ryan Russillo's show. You're better than I am. I can't sit through something like this. But Ben Simmons changed his phone number without telling anybody. Danny reached out personally, sent a bunch of text messages over the weeks, but Ben did not respond. Others tried to check on him, and nobody talked to Ben until he showed up at the practice facility. Now, this is the practice that he got kicked out of because he had his phone in his pocket, and he wasn't giving effort, and they were calling him to get in on drills, and he was like, nah, I don't really feel like it. But this is not surprising. I honestly feel like this is something that we kind of knew, right? I mean, it's either that he got a new number or he was just leaving people on red or he just blocked everybody. It was an unhealthy relationship for everyone, and he didn't want to respond. Let it be known. The atmosphere was about right. One thing I can say about Philly fans, I've been in the building when they booed their own home team. So I knew that they was going to bring it for Ben Simmons for sure. And I think, and again, I don't know every anecdote of the night, but from the broadcast, it didn't seem like they went overboard. You got some Ben Simmons' chance. You know, I think that was pretty warranted. But other than that, that was it. I know there was the one fan that got kicked out. I don't know what he was saying, but there was nothing like thrown or anything crazy. They had upped up security. Yo, this is what I have to say, because this is wild to me. If you took the Philly fans, if you are one of the people that took that Ben Simmons beef saga that crazily that you were willing to potentially run on the court, you need to rethink your whole life, dog. Because them beefing up security for this regular season game is wild to me. Is there somebody out there that was willing to, like, you know, try to cause bodily harm to this man? I love that KD and Joel Embiid got chippy. That's what this game is about, right? Two of the best players in the league going at each other. And I know there's no harm between the two of them, but I like a little trash talk every once in a while. And what was put on big display today and what has filled my timeline since this game has ended is about Joel Embiid and his play, at least recently. Because again, Joel Embiid did not have a good game. The counter stats kind of look good, 27 and 12. Same thing with Jokic. Jokic almost had a triple-double, but the eye test did not pass. But what was on full display is the Joel Embiid foul stuff. And it got pretty toxic and interesting on Twitter. And you know what's very interesting about this is how these things how history can repeat itself, because I've referenced this MVP race before as another version of the Russell Westbrook, James Harden one from a few years ago, where Russell Westbrook was averaging a triple-double. And I'm only meaning from my perspective because that year I feel like I switched every single day too. One day Russell Westbrook had my vote, then the next day it was James Harden. But if you go back and think about that race and think about some of the opinions on each side, one of the big negatives about James Harden was the foul baiting thing. And Joel Embiid, you're starting to see some of that kind of go against Joel Embiid now in 2022. How he is manipulating the game to get more calls. And listen, do what you got to do, big fella. I'm not mad at you, but it did hurt the viewing experience. And honestly, if you ask me, it made the loss feel just a little bit worse. Because in the first half, the score was 72-51. It is a 21-point lead going into halftime. I went to college, dropped out, but I could do that simple math. And then you look at the free throws, the free throw discrepancy, if that's the word. The Nets had hit 3 free throws in the first half, while the 76ers hit 21. They hit 18 more free throws and were down by 21 at halftime. That just means everything else that was going up at the rim was clank, clank, clank. And James Harden was terrible tonight. His for sure his worst game in Philly, so there's no need to overreact, but definitely terrible in a game that you wanted him to come out to play. You know what I'm saying? Again, there was a lot and little at stake at the same time, and you wanted this win. If you're a 76er fan, like, look, Ben, we traded for this dude, and he got us winning more games than you ever could. And him and Ben Simmons could have had the same impact on this game. Legit, Ben Simmons was sitting courtside. Same impact as James Harden tonight. I love Ben Simmons' chain with the kangaroo on it. Can't imagine how much that costs, but it's a fire look if you ask me. We should do a NBA chain ranking because Anthony Edwards' chain, I think it's just a big old A and an E for Anthony Edwards. Fire, iced out. Anyway, these last couple games for the Nets are starting to put some people on notice. The last time I talked about the Nets, they were struggling. They had lost that game to the Boston Celtics. And at that point, they had the same record in the last 20 as the Houston Rockets. Obviously, you don't want that in 2022. But in the last couple, you had the Kyrie 50-point game, which is the most efficient 50-point game of all time from a guard, and maybe even all time, including Wilt in them, but ridiculous efficiency from him against a team that they're fighting against to get the seeding in the Charlotte Hornets. And then today, again, circled on the calendar, going against one of the top teams in the Eastern Conference, showing the world, hey, listen, we might be a play-in team right now, but we still super dangerous, so we could potentially make some noise. And what only thing I could see, or think about, one of the things I could think about watching this game, and then we'll move on to the next one, is I still feel like both of these teams are still, I don't want to say far away from a championship because I still think either of them could win it, but I think they're still a little bit away when it comes to roster construction for me to see them and be like, that's my undisputed favorite to win the championship. And maybe for the Brooklyn Nets, it's as simple as like, let's see what Ben Simmons can do, and maybe that propels them. But for the 76ers, they just don't have enough shooting. They don't have enough perimeter defense. And a lot of that stuff might be able to be available come offseason. And same thing can be said about some of the holes in the Brooklyn Nets. This was a really good day for the Golden State Warriors. First of all, they beat one of the hottest teams in basketball in the Denver Nuggets now. And the Nuggets defense is their 4th game in 5 nights. So it's not this is a scheduled loss, NBA. You know what you was doing by putting them on national TV during this one. Either way, this is a big day for the Warriors. First of all, the third splash, bro, Jordan Poole continues to impress. But Jonathan Kuminga, again, with a 7 for 12 night, 18 points. At some points, it just feel like Steph Curry be throwing the ball up at him and say, go get it, big fella. And he go out there and get it. He's crazy athletic. The defense is great. And Most Moody didn't have a good game. But the reason why I'm saying this is a good day for them is because James Wiseman played in the G League today. And yes, there's a big gap between good G Leaguer and NBA starter. But he looked really good in his first game of basketball in so long. That's good. His second jump was about as quick as it ever been. And that's good. You know what I'm saying? Because you were wondering about things like that. He was a dude that could get up and get up again. And after all these surgeries and these setbacks, you would think that he'd lose a little bit of that. Nah, he's got his own rebound and went back up a couple different times. So the young core of the like Kumingas, Moses Moody, Jordan Poole, who I'm still counting because I think he's younger than like 23. And then James Wiseman. A lot of them could be interesting come playoff time. I don't know how big of a role Moses Moody will play in the playoffs, or even James Wiseman, or even Jonathan Kuminga. But they can be building a little something. But it always confuses me. Like, if I was the guy in charge over there, if I was Bob Myers, which I'm not, because I'm highly underclassified for that type of position, would I be willing to package some of the younger dudes to help the acceleration of the current core? I think that's been a conversation for the Warriors all season long, at least from us fans. They might not even talk about that type of stuff in their front office. They might say Kuminga, Moody, Wiseman, all untouchable. We're not thinking about going all in. But again, with Steph Curry being plus 30, Steph Curry and Draymond all being plus 30, would you be willing to part ways with a 21-year-old to help that plus 30 core one last dance type move? You feel me?